Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there tonight. Had yourselves a great day, and I hope everyone is having a great start to their weekend out there so far. Here to bring you the latest information that we have on what is now Tropical Storm Beryl. It has weakened from a hurricane to a tropical storm. We were expecting this with land interaction with the Yucatan Peninsula. What's unfortunate is that it did not stay over land long enough. I mean, it didn't even stay over land 24 hours, not even really 18 hours, as this thing is already reemerging into the ocean again, the Gulf of Mexico this time, as it's been in the Caribbean for quite some time. Now it's moving into the Gulf of Mexico. So the data that we've got over the last 24 to 36 hours is concerning. I'm not even going to lie. We've been kind of discussing this a little bit over the last couple videos. But the data we are getting is really telling us that this is going to be a legit threat to Texas. And honestly, I say data, but really, it's just been real-time observations as Hurricane Beryl, what is now Tropical Storm Beryl, has basically went north of guidance its entire life for the most part, which means that models have consistently been initializing wrong. But this is all we have to go off of, and I think that it's important to continue to get updates. I'm not asking you to make me your only source to get weather from, but it's very important that you guys, especially in Texas, get updates at least every 6 to 12 hours, because the Gulf of Mexico can do some wild things to these tropical systems. So we're going to get very detailed with you folks. We're going to talk about what's going on with Beryl right now. We're going to go over all the latest model guidance, talk about the latest from the National Hurricane Center, and take a look at the cone and the intensity forecast. Like I said, we'll get detailed on that model guidance. We'll talk about impacts. We're close enough to this thing where we can talk about impacts. And then we'll talk about what's going to drive this to re-strengthen. And not only re-strengthen, but there could be a period of rapid intensification, especially as we get into Saturday night and more so into Sunday. Kind of its last day, full day over water. Might be a big day. Kind of Beryl's last gasp, if you will. And then we'll talk about what's steering this. We're going to really geek out on you guys a little bit. So if you're really interested in hearing what's driving all this, there'll be timestamps up throughout the video. So if you guys have not subscribed, consider doing that. Like the video, consider doing that also. It means a lot. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. So let's get going here. So this is Tropical Storm Beryl, folks. I'll tell you right off the dot. I've seen high-end Category 1 hurricanes look worse than this. This has a nice spin to it. It's still a well put together tropical system. The core of Beryl did not get messed with, if you will, enough. We really needed the core of this system to really be disrupted. But I mean, it did somewhat. I mean, any tropical system's core will get messed with if it's over land, because it needs the warm waters of the ocean, right? But just not enough, as this is still compact as it's emerging into the Gulf of Mexico right now. So it's still got a very impressive cyclonic spin to it. I mean, it is spinning very well. The upper wind pattern has already improved. I mean, it's not in the most favorable upper wind pattern, but it's pretty good. I mean, look at the flow, the outflow of this system. I would say it's displaced right now from the best upper wind pattern, as there is a nice anticyclonic flow out away from this system, but you're still getting a nice outflow. Air is pushing away from this system in the upper levels of the atmosphere, especially on the northern to northeastern and eastern portion of this storm. So as air is being pushed out, it's allowing for more air to rise. That gets pushed out. This just aids into basically sustaining convection. Convection meaning shower and storm activity. Anytime I say convection, that's what I'm talking about. Think of convection as storms. Just that's a simple way to think about it. But this thing is spinning very well. It's now emerged off the Yucatan Peninsula. Like I said, it's in the southern Gulf of Mexico. The core of this storm is probably right into here while I'm drawing this X. So all bets are off now. Okay, but all we can look at is all we can look at, which is this model guidance. So we're gonna really show you how it's initializing compared to the ensemble guidance. You guys are gonna trip out on this. It's gonna be some wild stuff in this video. So it's a pretty healthy tropical storm, considering the fact that it just stayed over land for about 12 to 18 hours. So latest information from the National Hurricane Center that we have right now: 65 mile per hour tropical storm. They're saying that this is going to be a 60 mile per hour tropical storm by tonight, 2 a.m. Saturday morning, which is here in the next, several hours. By the time we get into tomorrow afternoon, around 2 p.m., it's still a 65 mile per hour tropical storm. But folks, I'm going to tell you right off the dot, we're going to get a lot of tweaks from this. This is the latest 5 p.m. advisory Friday evening. I wouldn't be surprised if the 11 p.m. advisory is a little bit different. Maybe they have this strengthening into a hurricane quicker, but regardless, this is what we got. 65 mile per hour tropical storm tomorrow afternoon. 70 mile per hour tropical storm by Sunday 2 a.m. And by the time we're getting into Sunday afternoon, folks, this is back to Hurricane Beryl. All right. Now it's an 80 mile per hour Category 1 hurricane. And if I just said a 75 mile per hour tropical storm, maybe I did, maybe I didn't. That's not what I meant. 75 mile per hour hurricane. Okay. 80 mile per hour hurricane. And now it's forecast. The peak intensity is now up to a 90 mile per hour Category 1 hurricane. I expect this to increase. By the time we do a video tomorrow morning, I wouldn't be surprised one bit if the peak intensity is up to 100 miles per hour. Category 2. Hurricane watches are up, folks, for a very small section of Mexico. But this isn't going to make landfall in Mexico now. I mean, I'm like 98% sure it's not. This is a Texas thing. The core of this system is going to go into Texas now. Things have changed a lot over the last few days. But they have the center of this cone going right into Corpus Christi and the coastline associated with Corpus Christi. I know Corpus Christi isn't right up against the coast. I know that. But you guys get what I'm saying. Right here in this region, hurricane watches in this pink color are already up. I expect these to get upgraded to warnings here in the next 24 hours. Okay, but if you kind of zoom out here, right, the cone really spreads out. I mean, look, the cone goes all the way into Louisiana. So this is saying that the center of the storm could still trend way up here. Houston, Galveston, you guys, you got to. At the end of the day, I wouldn't be surprised if this all of a sudden trends so far north that this makes landfall in Galveston. Not saying that's going to happen. I still think it'll be a little bit further south than that. But I'm just saying, do not rule out that possibility. But impacts continue well inland. This is going to bring some nasty weather to Louisiana to Arkansas eventually. But we'll get more into that when we need to. We need to focus on the shorter term now. But this is the latest cone that we got. The more traditional look that a lot of people are probably more familiar with. Notice it spreads out right into here. Okay. Tropical storm warnings continue for the Yucatan Peninsula. These will get dropped here in the coming hours. But forecast to be a tropical depression by the time it gets deep into eastern Texas, which, we would expect that with a weakening with land interaction. So, latest from the National Hurricane Center. Now, let's start going over model guidance. I always like to start off like this, and there's a reason I do that, and it's really mainly just to see what the National Hurricane Center has this as far as millibars. And it has it as a 989 millibar tropical storm Beryl right now, moving at about 15 miles per hour. I'm showing you that for a reason, okay? So, let's take a look at the latest European. The European definitely was, it definitely showed a more concerning scenario today. It really bid on to the fact that, hey, this is a legitimate, not only hurricane threat for Texas, but maybe a stronger Category 2, maybe a major hurricane. Major hurricane being Category 3 or higher. And I am not ruling that out one bit because this is the Gulf of Mexico we were talking about. But this is initializing on the euro as a 990 millibar low. And right now it's a 989. Okay, so, this is initializing pretty well on the euro. It's doing pretty well. The thing about it is it's still initializing too far west. Okay, all model guidance right now is initializing too far west when it's really a little bit further east. Euro just a tick west, but still here. So this evening, okay, we get into tomorrow morning. The euro says this is already starting to strengthen. I was talking a lot, if you watch this morning's video, that I thought tomorrow was going to be a big day where Beryl was going to have to kind of recuperate, get its act together. But the fact that the core of this system has remained so compact, I would say that it's probably going to strengthen somewhat tomorrow. And it could undergo rapid intensification maybe sometime tomorrow p.m. But it has this dropping now down to a 982 millibar system. So the euro is trying to say, hey, this is going to be back to Category 1 hurricane status by the time we wake up tomorrow morning. Is it? I don't know. I don't know about that, but we'll see. We keep this going. It does have it weakening, kind of right in here. And what's kind of wild, guys, is I've seen that a little bit throughout model guidance. It's like it tries to strengthen this tomorrow morning, and then it kind of goes through a period of weakening. I don't know if there's some dry air on the west side of the system that kind of bumps this system a little bit weaker. But I want to watch to see if that actually verifies. That'll be interesting sometime tomorrow. Okay. But we keep this going. It's hard to see this weakening at all in the Gulf of Mexico, though. It really is. And then we're starting to get into Sunday morning. Notice that number is beginning to drop again, which indicates a deepening system, indicates a strengthening tropical system. Now we're sub 980 again. So we're getting close to Category 2 hurricane status, and we're still well off the coastline of Texas. This is moving north-northwest, so more north than west at this point. You're getting into Sunday evening. Okay, getting into Monday morning. This is still strengthening. Makes landfall between Corpus Christi and Galveston as a 966 millibar hurricane. That's close to major hurricane status, if not high-end Category 2 status. All right, so Euro really was concerning today because it's been very conservative and off the last several days. So I don't want you guys to think, all right, Mitch, you've been talking crap about the Euro for the last several days. Don't try to jump on it now. Well, I'm not jumping on it. I'm kind of comparing because it's been so conservative. So for it all of a sudden to go aggressive, that's concerning to me because normally it's more of the conservative model. Now, I'm going to show you the icon before I show you the GFS. Remember, I've told you, and I posted on social media, the icon has done very well. It's done very, very well. And I guess we don't 100% know if it's done very well until it happens. But the icon has been showing the scenario of this recurving dramatically north for about 3 or 4 days now. And it's sticking to its guns. It's initializing very well, a little bit too far west, but as a 990 system, has it kind of maintaining strength overnight. And it's showing it's about the same as we wake up tomorrow morning. And then it slowly starts to drop down to 986 tomorrow midday, 985, 982 tomorrow evening. Maintains, then we get into Sunday morning. Like I said, I still think Sunday's going to be the big day of big intensification of Beryl, re-intensification. Gets not sub 980, 976. This gets sub 970. This is when you start to get close to that major status again. To me, anytime when you start to get sub 970, that's starting to indicate maybe Category 3 status, in my opinion. Some people might, not the millibar thing number is always different with storms. It doesn't always tell a tale, I'll tell you that. Okay, just like right now, it's a 989 millibar tropical storm, but sometimes 989 will be a Category 1 hurricane. So, just to keep that in mind. But we get into Sunday evening. This is already bringing impacts to the Texas coastline. But look how far north the icon is. This makes a direct landfall over Galveston, Texas, and then brings big impacts to Houston. And then moves inland, does damage in eastern Texas, impacts to Shreveport, and continues just to move on. We're not going to talk a whole lot about inland yet. We got to figure out what this thing's going to do in the shorter term. But this is the GFS now. GFS initializing too far west. It's initializing not too bad. I mean, about 5-6 millibars too weak. But the GFS is just kind of weird. It kind of, and this might happen. The GFS might know what it's talking about here. But it kind of just goes directly northwest. It almost goes west-northwest. Does not strengthen this much Sunday. It finally tries to strengthen it right at the last second, kind of Sunday night and a Monday morning. It makes landfall as a Category 1 hurricane. I would say really close to Corpus Christi in that area, right in there. So that's the GFS. Now let's look at the HWRF model. And I think that this is initializing the best. I know I've been flip-flopping a little bit, especially from the HFA model to the HWRF model. Even showed you the HMON model a little bit. But I'm going to show you this because it's initializing the best. And I honestly am favoring, and when I say favoring, that's not saying Mitch wants the worst case scenario to happen, but I'm favoring more of a stronger hurricane, in my personal opinion. I just am. Because the Gulf of Mexico, honestly, that's it. To be honest with you. But this gets into the Gulf of Mexico. I like the idea of what the HWRF model is showing right off the dot. Let's see if we have the 18Z one. I don't think we do. We do not. No. We'll probably get that in about an hour. So we're going to miss the latest HWRF model, but this is the one from lunchtime, so it's still pretty new information. Waking up tomorrow morning to about the same strength storm system. Tropical Storm Beryl still. We get some steady strengthening tomorrow. By the time we're into tomorrow afternoon, This is a sub 990 millibar tropical system, maybe a hurricane at this point. Not much strengthening tomorrow PM though. Then you see that number begin to drop, 985, 982 Sunday morning, 978, sub 980, probably a category 2 hurricane, a high-end category 1. And this is bringing impacts even to Brownsville still. And 974, then it gets that to that dreaded sub 970. And it makes landfall, folks, as a high-end category 2, category 3 hurricane, kind of just south of Corpus, kind of between Corpus Christi and Brownsville, Texas. And, it definitely does not bring a significant impacts like to Houston. But this would probably go on. And the thing is even if it makes landfall further south down the Texas coastline, I think once it gets into Texas, it's not going to move really west anymore. It's going to really start to turn north. And I don't think it's going to get deep into Texas, in my opinion. I think that even if it's moving northwest into Texas here, I think it's going to start to move north pretty fast. Does it start to move north over water, or does it start to move north once it's well inland? That's a key player. But that looks like a mean-looking hurricane into the southern Texas coastline. All right, so this is going to be the interesting part here that we're going to talk about. This is Ensemble, guys, the European Ensemble, the newest one we got. So here comes the guidance here. This is getting into, I know it's kind of a weird-looking screen, but I want to get very close for you guys. This is getting into tonight. Okay, the European Ensemble makes up 51 members, so you're going to see a bunch of L's jumbled up at first together. We're getting into tomorrow morning, getting into tomorrow night, and then, of course, we're getting into Sunday, and then Sunday night into Monday. So this combines all these members. I want you to notice that you only got a couple straggler members that are now going into Mexico. All of them, not like 85 to 90% of the members are going into Texas now. And you have some pretty strong members also that goes into Texas. You got some that go as far south as Brownsville, some that go as far north as Houston, Texas, Galveston. But most of them are in between. So I want to really zoom into this little area right into here and get even a little bit closer for you folks. There is some strong members. You got some members that are category 4 status, like a 953 millibar hurricane. You got, in general, you got anywhere from 950 to like 980. But most of the members that are pretty far north are well above hurricane and category 1, category 2 status. But check this out, okay? Good friend of mine on social media, his name's Matthew. He does a great job in the weather community. By the way, if you're interested in weather more than just kind of getting information from it so you can be prepared, if you really want to learn about it, I really would say, definitely hop on X or Twitter. There's a great weather community on there. I know social media can be toxic. I get it, guys. I don't think that'll ever go away. But it's where I've learned 90% of my information. I'm not afraid to admit most of the stuff that I've learned is from other people. Some of the stuff I've kind of learned on my own, just off observation. But most of it is just from the fine people on social media, good friends and stuff like that. But he made this graphic. So this was where Beryl Center was a little bit earlier this afternoon, like an hour or two ago. Maybe like an hour and a half ago. This is where all the members from the European Ensemble was initializing and moving. Notice that Beryl is east of all 51 members. So even the stronger members, and I'm going to tell you, see how kind of the lines go from greenish blue, greenish yellow, yellowish orange, and the orange is stronger members. It's a stronger system. Let's not make this more complicated than what it has to be. So the more north these members are, the stronger they are. And this thing is well north and northeast of this signal here. So that's concerning, guys. All right. So here's another way. Here's the latest model guidance from 18Z off Tropical Tidbits. And this is just another way to look at it. All these members are now going into Texas. So let's talk about impacts, what we know. Now, we'll be fine-tuning this nonstop, but this is the latest information. The National Hurricane Center at 5 p.m. Put some awesome graphics up for us to look at here. So rainfall, the worst part of this tropical system is going to be in the north and northeast and eastern side. And I think Houston is going to get the nasty, what we call dirty side of this hurricane, which is the east quadrant. highest tornado threat. We're going to get a tornado threat in Louisiana, all the way up to Arkansas as we get into the days to come. But rainfall, okay, if you're in this yellow color, that's 4 to 6 inches of rain. This orange color, that's 6 to 8 inches of rain. There's certain portions of Texas that ain't got a whole lot of rain lately because you've been dominated by a ridge. And sure enough, here comes a tropical system to say, hey, I got you covered. But you might get a little bit too much too fast. But we don't see any of these splotches of dark orange yet over this area, indicating like 8 to 12 inches of rain. But they already got, 4 to 6 inches of rain in southwestern Arkansas, Shreveport, So a lot of rain on the way. Some of this could tweak west. It could tweak back east. We just got to watch. Another way to look at this is the Weather Prediction Center. And there it is, just a swath. This is between now and Thursday morning, July the 11th. Swath of 5, 6, 7 inches of rain to eastern Texas. And just a little bit better look at this here. Let's look at Arkansas. And a lot of rain coming. I mean, especially for western Louisiana into southwestern Arkansas. And this isn't even the complete run. So that's the rain that we got right now. What about storm surge? Already going for, and I expect this to increase. 3 to 5 feet in the Matagorda Bay. Corpus Christi Bay, 3 to 5 feet. A little bit lower down here in the Bay regions. And then up here, I expect us to get some storm surge into the Galveston Bay. For sure. But this is it. We got 3 to 5 feet of storm surge forecast. I expect this to increase. And then you look at the chance to see tropical storm force wind gusts and winds. All right, which is 39 miles per hour or higher. Might as well say 40, okay? But, I mean, the chance of seeing this is up to 70 to 80% along the central and southern Texas coastline. I expect this to increase. But, I mean, you're already seeing a good shot at this. So, tropical storm force wind gusts are on the way. The timeline of this is, by the time you get into Sunday morning, we're already seeing outer bands that are already probably producing tropical storm force wind conditions, 40, 50, 60 miles per hour. Okay, but by the time you get into like Sunday afternoon, evening, conditions, I think, dramatically begin to deteriorate because just remember, this is really going to slow down off the Texas coastline. So it's going to sit there, spin, dump its outer bands all along the Texas coastline. So another way to look at these wind gusts is we'll look at the Euro and then the H-Wolf model. The European, which is the aggressive kind of northern mode of this, and then we'll kind of show you the more southerly mode of this, which is the H-Wolf model. But the European brings this swath, and this is wind gusts. This isn't consistent wind speeds. Brings that upper end Category 2, Category 3 hurricane into this area right here between Corpus Christi and Galveston. And it brings wind gusts approaching 90 to 100, 110 miles per hour in this region right into here. So, this would bring 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts into Houston. And there's no point in getting too far inland, guys, because this is going to change some. But I'm really just focusing in on the coastal regions. But whoever's going to get the core of this system is going to get, I would think, at least 100 mile per hour wind gusts are possible with this. Now, you look at the H-Wolf model. It's a little bit further south, and this is just wind gusts. This is just wind speed. So this would bring the worst of the conditions kind of between Corpus Christi and Brownsville. And this would bring wind gusts, excess of wind speeds and consistent of, 65, 75, 80 miles per hour right here into the southern coastline, more so southern coastline of Texas. Corpus Christi Bay would get hit hard in this situation, especially moving further south, and you guys just the what we call onshore flow, which the flow is wrapping around. That's not a good color. The flow's wrapping around like this around this low pressure. So whoever's getting hit by this flow right into here, which would be this portion of Texas right here, you would get the worst storm surge. But we got to figure out what the core of the system is going to be. So I know I haven't mentioned the time frame much at all, but this could happen anytime between midnight Monday, Sunday night to midnight, all the way to the wee hours of the morning Monday into Monday morning. It could make landfall maybe Sunday midday. So I would say from late Sunday night, anywhere from midday Monday is the time frame, but I would say it would be somewhere right in the middle, like Monday morning. So a situation like the H-Wolf model, this would bring some nasty Category 2 hurricane type conditions right into the southern Texas coastline, even into the central coastline. Now let's talk about conditions. Okay, this will be the kind of the part we'll kind of nerd out on you guys a little bit. So this is sea surface temperatures in Celsius, and I'll convert it to a Fahrenheit for you. There's never a really good map for Fahrenheit. It's always in Celsius here. So the one thing that I think is going to prevent this from strengthening like overnight, it's tomorrow morning, is this system. It's kind of like right in here, right? Maybe it's actually a little bit. Anyways, it's probably a little bit further east than this. And we'll kind of get this back off our screen. It's actually in a pool of cooler water off the northern sections of the Yucatan Peninsula. So sea surface temperatures are probably like in some cases like the upper 70s to just low 80s. It's kind of been an area where we've had a lot of unsettled weather. This has caused the cooling of the sea surface temperatures in this area. But once this system gets out here, okay, it's going to encounter sea surface temperatures approaching at least the low 80s, and then this is going to climb as high as the mid to upper 80s. You see that 30 to 31 degrees Celsius right into here? I mean, that is getting your sea surface temperatures starting to approach like 86, 87, 88 degrees. So that's rocket fuel as far as sea surface temperatures for this system. So you can check that off the box. I mean, we're well above average for this time of the year as far as sea surface temperatures. So this is why I don't even speak on this much. So the waters are plenty warm enough for not only sustaining tropical development, but for rapid intensification. The next thing you look at is the upper wind pattern. Now, I don't want to lose you guys. A big thing with me in this channel is the number one priority is for me to keep you guys aware of what's going on. Number two is to explain things in a way where you guys can understand. Okay, because I think it's very important for you guys to understand what's driving these things. A lot of false information gets thrown out there, and I think it's just lack of understanding the weather at the end of the day. So this is where the system is right about right now. This is probably where it will be in the next couple hours off the European model. What I want you to notice is this is winds at about 35 to 40,000 feet up in the air, the upper wind pattern. Okay, you see kind of the flow in the blue. It's indicating where we have some higher wind speeds, higher wind flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere. You see these lines with the arrows embedded in them, streamlines. You see how they're kind of going like this, then they're kind of going like that, and they're kind of wrapping around to the system. So this system has a decent upper wind pattern right now with it. It's pretty good. Air is getting dispersed out away from the system, but let's say if this entire circle that I just kind of drew with these arrows was positioned right over this system with the L right kind of in between it all, that would mean that it would be perfectly positioned what we call an anticyclonic flow, which means conditions would really, I wouldn't use the words maximize, but really dramatically increase for its upper wind pattern. But it's still getting air pushed out away from this system. And you can see it really well if you compare this graphic. Okay, let's get this back off our screen with the actual satellite of this. You can see it well. Check it out. I mean, you see how these high cirrus clouds are kind of getting dispersed out like this. They're kind of wrapping back like that, kind of going like this. Okay, now you see that? That's in the upper levels of the atmosphere. You compare that. Let's get this all back off your screen with the graphic I was just showing you. Where'd you go? Right here. And check it out. The streamlines are doing that exact thing. That's what's going on the satellite. So it's a great comparison between real-time observations and what the models are saying is doing in the upper levels of the atmosphere as you have that flow, and that's what we call a favorable outflow. So air is getting dispersed out from this tropical system. This is allowing for more air to come in and rise. That gets dispersed out. So rising air means we have conditions favorable for convection to sustain itself and to just kind of keep on firing. So the upper wind pattern is pretty decent for the system. Now, watch what happens, and this will be the first time we explain this since breaking down Beryl. Now, as we continue to move forward, I think that anticyclonic flow will still be off to the east, but still a pretty nice flow. I think we got to watch tomorrow as this little kind of upper level trough, if you will, right in here, might bring some unfavorable conditions to the western side of the system. Might bring a little bit of shear tomorrow. You see how this thing's kind of dipping down like this? Now, a lot of people aren't talking about that. I would watch this side of the system right in here for that. I just don't think it's going to last. But we keep on going. And what I want you to notice right up here, this is around midday Sunday. You see a lot of darker blues, even some greens up here. your flow is going like crazy right here in this region. It's kind of coming out this region, kind of like the west-southwest, if you will. That is because of a trough that's digging down. Remember, and we're going to talk about that more here in a second. That trough created the weakness, split the ridge in half almost, allowed the ridges to build in the west and to get pushed off to the east. And there's a flow at the base of this trough, and it's pretty much a right exit jet max, if that makes any sense, and it might not. But anyways, this is going to actually help this system. It's going to give it a boost, a real upper level wind pattern boost. And I really think that this is going to help in the upper levels of the atmosphere energize this system. It's going to just really fuel this system and really allow it to almost re-intensify. This is also going to steer this system. It's going to tug on it, pull it north, and eventually pull this system where it's actually moving back. It's moving east for the first time in the entire life of this system. So, yeah, wild stuff, guys. That jet kind of boost right in here that's diving down the base of this trough, it might do a number on this system in a good way for the system, in a good way meaning for strengthening for the system. And here's a closer look at that. Here's the system right here, a closer look at this jet diving down and shooting like this. This is going to pull on this system and really allow it to, like, this is the European depiction of what happens, really allow this number to drop here, meaning a deepening system. It's going to pull this system right up into here, but also just really give it a jet boost. It really will. So that's that, and really just explaining that in general from that, take from the fact that the upper wind pattern is going to at minimum be favorable. Is going to enter a state where it's very favorable. It's a big question. Now, because it's going to be favorable, all right, right now there is dry air getting involved in the system. Okay, this is the H-Wolf model. The colors you're seeing in the tan, the brown colors, that's dry air. The deep greens, that's moist air. So this is kind of lopsided as far as the heaviest conditions as being on the north side of this system. Watch as we continue to move forward here in time. Even getting into tomorrow morning, guys, the dry air is getting involved into the system, trying to get all the way to the southern flank of this system. All right, but a favorable upper wind pattern will allow and favorable sea surface temperatures, warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. All of a sudden, you get into tomorrow afternoon, you're starting to see moisture fully wrap around the core of the system, which is where the L is, and it really fully wraps around. This point, you got full banding around this entire system, banding as in sustained convection wrapping around this low pressure. And then this thing, there's no dry air, there's no brown, tan colors to be found now on this graphic. This thing's fully wrapped up, and here it comes as a major hurricane landfall Monday morning to the Texas coastline. So the last thing we look at is steering currents, and honestly, this is, at this point, no longer that difficult to really explain, just because the avenue of what's going to happen is really opened up. Okay, this trough, this is for waking up tomorrow morning. This trough, this area in blue, this indicates a lower pressure. The area in orange, even almost red, it's higher pressure. So you got ridging right here, you got troughing right here, trough of low pressure, and you still got ridging influence over here. And you see this blue area down here, that is Old Beryl, working its way across the Gulf of Mexico. So we get all that all back off. This trough that is dug down into the central U.S., create a weakness in the ridge. Kind of just busted it wide open here. This forced a ridge to flex in the western U.S. So you can thank this trough for the big time heat wave in the west. You still got some ridging right in this area right in here in the eastern U.S. Still got a ridge. So flow around this trough, just like flow around this low pressure, is cyclonic, okay? Spinning just like that, right? Flow around this trough is digging down and coming like this. Then it's coming like this, all right? Flow around this ridge feature right here is going like this and going like this. So it's kind of like working in tandem right into here. This low pressure can probably feel a little influence on this ridge, but what's the big key here is the weakness this trough right here created right into here where I drew all the squiggly lines. This created a weakness in the pattern, even though this trough is technically pretty far north. It created a weakness right here. Two things it does. It allows this system to slow down. It really creates a weaker steering current. The flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere really slow down because it cannot really feel a big tug from this yet up here or this ridge over here because it's so far away. Okay, it really slows down the steering current. So this is why this system's going to kind of bog down right off the coast of Texas. The second thing is it allows this to get stronger because it slows down. A stronger system, even with weaker steering currents, is going to go north. It's going to go poleward. It's going to gain a latitude. So if this is going to have all the time in the world to get stronger down here, it's going to try to fight to go further north. Okay? We know that if you don't, we know that stronger storm systems, stronger tropical systems, always want to go more north, even if there's a strong ridge in place. Say if all this orange was kind of like right here into this region. This thing, say if it was a category 3 or higher hurricane or something, it's going to try to go as up against that ridge as possible. We see it happen all the time off the coast of the southeast. We'll have this ridge in place, and at the last second, these things will come in, and they'll do everything they can to turn north and do like this. So, and kind of round the ridge over sections of the North Atlantic and the eastern U.S. So we kind of keep this in motion and keep your eye on this blue blob down here, which is Beryl. And that's exactly what happened. You see how it's moving just this is in 3-hour increments too. So, I mean, it's going to look a lot slower than what it is, but it's just moving slow. It really slows down here, but that trough begins to kind of slowly ooze south. Now, with Beryl right into here, the flow kind of going like this, the base of this trough, just like we just showed you with the streamlines, Beryl is really going to feel this and probably begin to really jet off this way at a quicker speed. You can see it happen here, picks up some speed, and then evaporates because of land interaction. So, hope I explained that in a way where you guys can understand. The weather's wild, folks. There's so much more to it than I think people realize. But I love trying, the people that are interested. Some people just start trying to get detail with people, like for example at my work about the weather, and their eyes will go cross. They're looking at me like a deer in the headlights, and I know, okay, I just need to stop. I'm losing this person. But I think it really is important to really break down what drives all this. It really is, in my opinion. So hope that helps. We'll do it again tomorrow morning. We'll probably have changes. But all in all, this is trending north and it's trending further east. God bless all y'all. Stay safe out there, and you guys have a great Friday night.